In the mid-1970s, the United States Army ran a competition to find a new machine gun. The M73, which had been mounted inside American tanks and armored vehicles since the late 1950s, was a failure. Chronically unreliable, prone to jamming, a weapon that soldiers in the field had learned to distrust. The Army needed something better. Two finalists entered the final phase of testing. One was an American design. The other was a Belgian gun that had been in NATO service since the early 1960s. The Belgian gun didn't just win. It won so decisively that an Army general, asked to grade the weapon's performance, said it got an A. And the only reason it got an A was because there was no higher grade than A. That gun was the FN Mag. The United States designated it the M240. It entered service in 1977. Right now, in 2026, the M240 remains in widespread service across all branches of the U.S. military: Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. It is on every Abrams tank. It is in the doors of Black Hawk helicopters. It is found in the machine gun section of the weapons platoon of every Marine rifle company, and widely across Army infantry formations. In 2025, the Army formally announced a multi-billion-dollar program to replace it, the Future Medium Machine Gun, with a $3.6 billion budget. No caliber has been decided. The Army is still developing requirements and evaluating test hardware. No fielding timeline has been announced. The M240 remains the weapon American soldiers will carry into the next fight. And when you understand why the Army has been trying to replace this gun for 50 years and still hasn't, and what happens every time a new design goes into testing, you'll understand something about what it actually costs to build a machine gun good enough to outlast the one it's supposed to replace. To understand why the M240 matters, you have to understand what it replaced, and why replacing it was not optional. The M60 machine gun entered service in 1960. It was called the Pig. The nickname stuck partly because of its weight, partly because of its appetite for ammunition, and mostly because soldiers who carried it in Vietnam came to understand that it was, underneath the firepower, a deeply flawed weapon. Door gunners on helicopters could fire 5,000 rounds in a single day, laying down suppressive fire on landing zones. At that rate, the M60's lightweight receiver would literally stretch from the heat and mechanical stress, cracking open and becoming unserviceable. A phenomenon well understood enough that armorers were issued gauges to measure when a receiver had stretched too far. An M60 receiver was good for roughly 100,000 rounds before failure. In contrast, testing later showed the M240's receiver could go more than 2 million without needing repair. That is not a small difference. That is the difference between a weapon that breaks during a sustained fight and one that does not. The trigger group was held together by pins that relied on a flat spring that could walk out of position, taking the whole trigger assembly with it. The gas system components were prone to working loose, and the fix in the field was wire tying them into place. The bipod was attached to the barrel rather than the receiver, which meant that when the barrel overheated and needed to be swapped out, which it did regularly, the entire gun had to be lifted out of the firing position to do it. In the middle of a firefight, that was not a minor inconvenience. It was a moment when the gun went quiet. American soldiers loved the M60 for what it could do when it worked. They tolerated it when it didn't. The nicknames, the Pig, the Hog, were affectionate, the way soldiers name the things they depend on. But the affection didn't change the record. The gas system needed regular attention and would unthread itself under sustained fire. The trigger group could be assembled incorrectly, causing the weapon to fire continuously, even with the trigger released. Spent casings sometimes failed to extract, jamming the action at the worst possible moment. After Vietnam, the Army looked at the combat record honestly and concluded that the M60's problems were not fixable at the level they needed fixing. They needed something better. The something better was already being used by most of NATO. The FN Mag had been in service with the British Army since 1961. Sweden adopted it in 1958. Belgium, Germany, and a dozen other NATO members were running it through the 1960s. It had a combat record across 3 continents before the U.S. Army ever put it on a test range. When the Army did test it, running it alongside the M60E2 and the existing M219 coaxial gun in a formal evaluation, the 2 primary criteria were mean rounds between stoppages and mean rounds between failures. A stoppage is a jam that a crew can clear in the field in minutes. A failure is something breaking, a part that has to be replaced, meaning the gun is out of action until someone gets it to an armorer. The MAG outperformed both competitors on both criteria by enough margin that the result was not close. The Army designated it the M240 in 1977 and began fitting it to the M1 Abrams and the M2 Bradley. The M240 was so reliable in its vehicle-mounted role that the Marine Corps came back to the Army in the late 1980s and asked a question. What would it take to configure this weapon for infantry use? The answer was an infantry modification kit, a stock, a front sight, a carrying handle for the barrel, a bipod mounted to the receiver rather than the barrel. In 1991, the USMC adopted the resulting variant, the M240G, as its standard infantry machine gun, replacing the worn-out M60s that Marines had been carrying since Vietnam. The Army watched the Marine Corps field the M240G, saw the combat results, and in the late 1990s ran their own head-to-head evaluation, the M240E4 against the M60E4. The M60E4 was lighter and cheaper. It lost. The deciding factor was not performance on the range, it was what the Army called commonality. The M240 was already in every Abrams tank, already on every Bradley, already in use by the USMC, already the standard weapon of every NATO ally the US Army might fight alongside. Choosing a different weapon for infantry would mean a second supply chain, a second set of spare parts, and a second training program for a gun that was demonstrably less reliable in testing. The M240B entered Army infantry service in the late 1990s. In roughly 20 years from its first adoption to full infantry fielding, the M240 expanded to cover every role the American military needed a 7.62mm machine gun to fill. Not because procurement planned it that way, because the weapon kept proving itself wherever it went. The M240 has one problem that has not been solved in 50 years of service. It is heavy. The M240B weighs 27.5 pounds. Add the tripod, and you are over 70 pounds before a single round of ammunition. For a soldier carrying a full combat load on a long patrol in the mountains of Afghanistan, that weight is not academic. It comes out of the energy he has left when the shooting starts. The Army has known this since the weapon entered infantry service, and it has spent decades trying to address it. The M240L, which uses a titanium receiver and polymer components, shaved the weight down to about 22 pounds, 5.5 pounds lighter than the M240B. That is a real improvement. It is also still a 22-pound machine gun, which is still among the heaviest weapons in the squad. In July 2025, the Army made the problem official. The fiscal year 2026 budget included a formal program, the Future Medium Machine Gun, or FMMG, with $3.6 billion allocated to develop and field a replacement. The FMMG is described in budget documents as a belt-fed, crew-served, direct-fire weapon system intended to provide increased lethality and capability compared to the M240. The caliber has not been decided. The Army is still developing requirements and evaluating test hardware. No fielding date has been set. The Army spokesperson responding to press inquiries said only that the service cannot provide an update at this time. This is not the first time the Army has tried to move past the M240. The weight problem has generated programs before. What each of them has run into is the same constraint. The M240's reliability is not a lucky accident. It is a product of the mechanical design, the long-stroke gas piston, the machine steel receiver, the specific relationship between mass, timing, and pressure that makes the weapon function reliably across extreme temperature ranges and after exposure to the mud, sand, dust, and neglect that weapons encounter in actual combat. Building something lighter means engineering around those constraints. Every time the Army has tried, the lighter weapon has given something back in reliability, in durability, or both. The gun that could replace the M240 has to be as good as the M240. 50 years of attempts have established that this is a genuinely difficult problem. The FN Mag was itself built on a foundation of lessons learned. Its designer, Ernest Verviers, incorporated the long-stroke gas piston system from the Browning automatic rifle, an American design, ironically, paired with a machined steel receiver built heavier than the M60's lightweight stampings. The result was a weapon that could absorb sustained fire, rough handling, and the full spectrum of environments that combat produces, without the mechanical fragility that plagued the guns it would eventually replace across NATO. In the 1977 Army evaluation, the MAG was tested against a weapon designed and manufactured domestically. It won on every metric the Army cared about. The FN MAG was already old by 1977. It had been in continuous service since 1958. The Army adopted it anyway because the testing was honest and the results were clear. That decision, made on the evidence rather than on procurement preference, is why the M240 is still the standard American machine gun today. The M240's mean rounds between failure rating is cited at 26,000 rounds in combat documentation from Iraq and Afghanistan. Some sources cite figures above 50,000 under specific test conditions. Either number represents a weapon that functions reliably through the kind of sustained use that combat actually demands. The M60 failed at around 1,700 rounds between stoppages in comparable testing. That gap between a weapon that breaks during a fight and one that keeps going is the operational reality underneath the specification sheets. What the FMMG program represents is not a failure of the M240. It is an acknowledgement that the threat environment is changing. Adversaries are fielding weapons with greater effective range than the 7.62mm cartridge can match. The Army's concern is overmatch. Russian and Chinese machine guns are increasingly outranging what the M240 can deliver. That is the argument for a new caliber, a new system, a new weapon. It is a legitimate argument. But the history of the M240 also says something about what that new weapon will have to be. It will have to survive the honest test. It will have to perform against whatever the Army runs it against in a formal evaluation. In the mud, in the cold, in the sand. At the sustained rates of fire that combat actually requires. Not the controlled conditions of a demonstration range. And whatever it is, the Army will run it against something. If the new weapon is genuinely better, it will replace the M240. If it is merely newer, the M240 will keep going. The Belgian gun that won a test nobody expected it to win in 1977 is still in the weapons platoon of every Marine rifle company and across Army infantry formations worldwide. That is not inertia. That is a record. There is a lesson in the M240's history that procurement offices find uncomfortable. The best weapon does not always win the contract. Sometimes the bureaucracy is too large, the domestic contractor too politically connected, the inertia of the existing supply chain too strong. The M240 won in 1977 because the Army ran a genuinely honest competition and accepted the result. A Belgian design, built in South Carolina, became the American military's standard machine gun. Not because it was American, but because it was better. The weapon has spent 50 years proving that judgment right. From coaxial gun on the Abrams, to the door of the Black Hawk, to the bipod of a Marine machine gunner in Fallujah, and a Ranger team on a ridgeline in Afghanistan. The M240 has been the gun that was there. Reliable, heavy, still running. The Future Medium Machine Gun program has $3.6 billion and no timeline. The M240 has 50 years of combat and a receiver that still gauges in spec. Until the Army finds something that passes the test the MAG passed in 1977, the answer stays the same. If this is the history you're here for, the engineering decisions, the honest tests, the reason some weapons outlast every program designed to replace them, subscribe. More is coming.